Hey, what's going on, White Line Agents? We are lucky to have Jonathan and Kip here today to help us out. They come from Risen Foundation Solutions. Is that correct? Or just
Yes.
Risen Foundation?
Risen Foundation Solutions.
Gotcha. Risen Foundation Solutions. I had that right. So these two guys are here just to kind of talk to us about residential foundation problems, because I know personally as a realtor, when I walk around and I'm looking at properties, I've done this a long time, so I know what to look for when it comes to foundation problems. But I remember at the beginning of this, when somebody would ask me if they thought a house had foundation problems or how serious was it and all of those kind of things. And you do want to do your best to help your customers out. Now, none of us are experts in it. Always got to call on the expert, period, the end. But it is something you need to be looking for, especially if you're working as an investor. Like recently, and we're going to bring this up, I'm sure. I talked last week about my house on Cormorant that I just bought. And yeah, that house has got massive foundation problems. And not massive, but I mean, easy enough to fix. But that was the main thing wrong with it. And I'm not scared of foundations. And neither should you. Nobody should be scared of foundations because we have experts here. So Jonathan, Kip, y'all want to introduce yourselves? Tell us a little bit about how long you've been in the industry and why you are the smartest person to talk about this.
Jonathan.
Sure. My name's Jonathan Clark. Been in the industry since 2013. Started as a project manager for another company. Moved up to a director of operations. And COVID presented a unique opportunity for Kip and I to join forces and start this business, our Risen Foundation Solutions. We complement each other very well within our business. And our mantra is really just, putting the customer first, making sure that, we're doing all the right things, even when nobody's looking. And that's really key in an industry like the one that, we're in the construction industry.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And Kip, where are you from? I know Jonathan
Sure,
better. I got to work with Jonathan in the past with a
Yeah.
while back. So, but tell me about you.
Yeah. So Jonathan and I started out when we were just kids. And so we've been best friends for almost 25 years, if I'm not mistaken, somewhere around there. And so I came from a hotel industry background, and COVID, as Jonathan mentioned, gave us a gift, which, a lot of us didn't know what was going on. But, we had talked about maybe doing something like this. And so when COVID hit, it was like, boom. And we talked, and 44 days later, we were on fire. So, and Jonathan hit the nail on the head. We just want to help people get from where they're at to where they want to be. And in today's case, Jonathan, this customer is 6 inches lower than they want to be, right?
Yes.
Where we were.
Yeah. Not anymore.
Yeah.
Not anymore. So,
yeah, Jonathan, hold that thought, because I am going to want you to show what you showed me a minute ago. That's going to be pretty cool.
Sure.
Yeah. So I come from a hotel background, and I'm also a Marine veteran. And so Jonathan and I both have high standards for ourselves, high standards for our organization. And I think that we deliver that with best-in-class service, just with Jonathan's natural attention to detail and excellence that he brings to the team. And then just with my background, I think we're just both created the same way. So we complement each other well in the areas that one of us is deficient on, the other one makes up for it. So we're a great partnership naturally in the making.
Gotcha. All right. Well, I'm going to start at the very beginning. And guys, I promise I'll get you out of here because I do have a meeting after this. So bear with me on this one. So in my experience here in San Antonio and the surrounding areas, pretty much 99% of Texas, we've got two types of foundations that go through there: the pier and beam and the slab, right? So talk us real quick through the design of a pier and beam and the design of a slab and how you can recognize that just by walking up to the house.
Sure. Yeah. So a pier and beam is going to be on either, concrete cylinders, pressed into the ground with wooden beams that go across for the floor joists. And really the main thing to look at in trying to recognize if a foundation is a pier and beam foundation is if you walk around the outside of the house and you see vents. Typically they're going to have, because pier and beam, you're required to have ventilation. This is a slab foundation, but if it were a pier and beam, periodically throughout the the superstructure, there would be a cutout with a vent over it so that underneath the floor and in the crawl space, it's ventilated so that moisture doesn't build up. And, you know, moisture is going to be, you know, a main, you know, something that you always want to avoid. As far as a slab goes, a lot of, and back to the pier and beam, a lot of pier and beams, this is a slab foundation, but pier and beams will have, in a lot of cases, a concrete footer, or what we call a concrete stem wall. But if you do see the cutout here, it's going to be a pier and beam foundation. And also, when you walk on the inside of the structure, if it, you know, is hollow to the step, that's a good indicator that it's a pier and beam foundation. You know, what we're working on here today is a slab foundation, slab on grade, and really in today's market, there's going to be two different types of slab. You're going to have a rebar that holds the concrete and strengthens it, and you know, what's more common today for builders is to use a post-tension system when pouring the slab.
Dude, I love watching the post-tension and like when they're pouring slabs. I work with a lot of new builds, and so a lot of times I like to go out there and see that. Explain what the post-tension is and kind of how it works and what it's designed to do.
Sure. So for a post-tension slab, you're going to have the PT cables, post-tension cables, which is a braided wire that is set. They set them down before the concrete is poured, and as the concrete is poured, you know, they tension those cables as the concrete is curing to create more strength and resistance within the concrete.
Yeah, it's a really cool process. If you haven't seen it, guys, if you're ever around a new build, you got to go see it, because they stick out. You got this cable that sticks out, you know, a couple feet on every side of it, and then they pull it. I mean, they literally push the foundation together using those cables, and it's really a cool process. Then they cut it off and they do all the rest of the stuff. So, so moving forward with these things. So those are the two main types of foundations that come through there. Yes, you're looking for vents. That's exactly what I always look for to know if I'm dealing with a pier and beam house. You can usually hear it sometimes when you're walking through it. You kind of have that hollow, old school sound. I think they pretty much made the switch in probably what, the 50s, 60s, somewhere in there is when they kind of stopped really doing that. So you can usually tell also by the age of the house. You know, always look for the vents. I mean, like you said, to get rid of moisture, to let all the feral cats in the neighborhood, give them a place to hang out. You know, that's what you always want for those pier and beams. But sometimes pier and beams are a good thing depending on where you're at. Again, guys, you'll see like a true pier and beam, like if you're around a river and they're lifting houses. I mean, that's the same thing, guys. It's a pier and beam. It's just a whole lot of piers getting that house out of the water. So it is still applicable, and it is a foundation solution. So don't be scared of either one of those foundations. You just need to kind of know what's going on. And personally, and I'm not the expert in this, but I find that pier and beams are a little easier to work on, but less reliable. So over time, they're going to have more problems, but it's easier for you to go fix them. Is that correct?
That is correct. A lot of times, pier and beam will just require some shimming. And just to clarify, here at Risen Foundation Solutions, we specialize in slab foundation, on-grade slab foundation repair. We do partner with an excellent organization, FHL Foundations. So if you do have any pier and beam foundations that need to be evaluated, inspected, and repaired, we will be able to point you in the direction of someone that'll do great work for you.
Gotcha. So the next thing that I'm worried about as a realtor or as an investor, when I walk into a property, I need to be looking for signs of foundation issues. Foundation issues can be very severe and can cause additional problems that a lot of people don't think about. It's not just the foundation. I mean, the entire house is resting on this. Kip, like, what would you tell a realtor if you're walking a property the first time? What are we looking for? What are we trying to figure out when it comes to looking for a foundation issue?
Sure. I think there's several different ways that we can identify signs of foundation issue. And the biggest one, in my opinion, is from an exterior perspective. If you've got a brick siding home, you'll notice step cracking in the brick or in the stone. You'll notice a flow of a crack that is a good indication that the structure is moving because the slab underneath is moving. So that's one good indicator from the exterior. You also want to check the where the windows are. You may have a gap in between the brick and the window, or it may be an increasing gap from bottom to top, or vice versa, or usually it's vertically. Those are some good indicators there. You also want to check the corner, like on the roof. You may have a roof line where the corner is just coming slightly separate, and that could also be a good indicator. Around the garage as well, look for those same gaps around the garage, especially the brick around the wood framing of the garage is a good one. On the interior, sorry, Colin, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, what I think a lot of people forget is during the construction of this, when it's all placed on the foundation, there's a frame around the windows. There's a frame around the garage door. And so when the house shifts, that frame will kind of stay in place, but everything else will move.
Correct.
And that's what will cause those gaps.
Yeah. And another one on the interior, just because you see a crack in drywall doesn't mean you have foundation issues. What you're looking for is a slanted crack around doorways, like you see above me here, wherever I can point to it, like at the corner and the tops of the doors, you'll see that crack starting to develop and usually heading upwards towards the ceiling. You can also see the drywall. You can see a step crack where the drywall is taped and floated together. You may see that coming apart. Some of those indications on the corner could be the swelling and expanding of the wood framing in the attic. So if you have improper ventilation in the attic area, you could just be experiencing the swelling and the contracting of the framing that's causing that. So that may not necessarily be a foundation issue. However, if you see abnormal cracks across the ceiling, if you see them slanted around windows and doorways, that's a good indication. And lastly, if your doors won't close properly or they open unassisted, that is a very strong indication that your house has a bit of a tilt.
Sorry, go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, and when you really are getting familiar with it, you can feel it underfoot. You can feel a tilt or a slope as you're walking. Even an inch and 10 feet, which is the tolerable variance, which we can touch on later, you can actually feel that as you're walking along.
Yeah, it's so funny. You made me so excited when I say that, because when I'm walking properties with people, people, and they see that tape pop. So for those of y'all that don't know, they build a house with sticks, right? So they put up the framing, and then they put a big piece of, it's usually gypsum rock, like drywall. They put it together, and there's seams where those come together. They put a piece of tape over it. They put some mud to make it look seamless as possible, right? A lot of times that tape will just pop, and there's 1,000 reasons why that would happen. The moisture got too high in the house, a million things. And a lot of times those straight lines, if you see them, are not, they can be a foundation issue, but more often than not, it's just the tape popping, and it's a pretty easy fix. Now, what I do tell everybody is you want those diagonal ones. And I'm so glad you say that, because that to me is, those are big ones. And again, guys, it's around those frames. So there is a door frame in there. That door frame there's all kinds of weight on that door frame. So it's not going to move a whole lot unless the foundation is moving. So that's what causes that to move. If the weight of if the bottom of that thing shifted, then the whole thing's going to go. So that's kind of one of the big ones. And it is funny. I play a lot of golf. So there's always a golf ball in my truck somewhere. And I will, if I walk into a house, and it is weird, you can almost feel like you're on a boat, right? You're kind of like, why am I listing to the left? And if I just don't see any evidence, I will go grab a golf ball out of it if it's a hardwood floor, and I'll just set it down and see what happens. And it usually gives it away too.
Yes, so, I would agree with that. And I actually have, realtors that we're connected with, and they've actually brought videos back of a manufactured ball bearing that, is rolling across the floor. They'll even push it forward and watch it roll backwards. And so, yeah, it's a very simple method, but it's a good way to say, hey, do I need an evaluation? Do I need to get a professional out here to tell me what's happening?
Yeah. And so you had said something a minute ago that I do think is very important about a variance. When it comes to the engineering of it, there is no such thing as a perfectly flat surface. I think we will all agree on that. It's just not going to happen. And when you're pouring 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 square feet of a big rock, the chances of you getting that perfectly level is zero. It's just never going to happen. So they do have a variance. So talk to me a little bit about what that means and why that exists.
Sure. So there's two criteria, and the ASCE, American Society of Civil Engineers, puts out guidelines for foundation variance and slope. The first that I'll talk about, which is the most common, is going to be tilt. And so the formula for calculating whether or not a foundation is within acceptable tolerances in reference to tilt is it's going to be a 1% slope. So essentially what that means is whatever distance that you're traveling on the foundation, you're allowed 1% slope or loss of elevation. So for instance, if you've got a 30-foot span and the foundation from one point to the other within that 30 feet is off 3.2 inches, then that's outside of that 1% slope. So 1% slope in 30 feet would be 3 inches. And the other criteria that they use is called deflection. And deflection, how you find deflection and how you're within that tolerance is their formula is length in inches divided by 360 inches. And if you're without side of that tolerable variance for deflection, deflection, they allow much less variance than slope, because with deflection, you've got let's say the inside is high and the outside is low. So if you have too much deflection, you're going to crack the slab in half. Whereas tilt, if it's all tilting in the same direction, they're going to allow for more tilt because there's not a risk of the slab cracking in half, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. So that, I mean, there is tolerance, guys. So that's one of the big things. So when I'm walking through a property, just to kind of give you my realtor speak, let's say I walk in and I'm walking around and I smell a foundation problem, right? I will say 9 times out of 10, I walk around and my eyes are always up. That's just kind of the way I walk it, guys. I'm not looking down at the ground. You're not going to see anything. I'm always kind of looking up. Oh, thanks. Makes me feel smart. And I'm looking at the door frames, the window frames, stuff like that, the connection where the wall and the ceilings meet, all that stuff. And that's usually what gives it away to me. And if, like I said earlier, if I see any kind of thing, by the way, guys, realtors, we cannot say that there is a foundation problem. We are not qualified. We don't even know. He just said, use 2 words I don't even know. But I can say I'm suspecting it because of this. Now, in my professional opinion, that does not mean you should not buy a house if there's a foundation problem. That is not, foundation. Like, foundation is so scary to everybody that it's ridiculous. But here's the thing, in San Antonio, I said it in the email that I sent out to everybody. It's not if you're going to have a foundation problem in San Antonio, it's when. It's going to happen, but it's really not too scary of a thing. So what I want to talk about, or what I'd like to Jonathan to show, right now he's on a work site, and I'm so glad he is, because this is going to be amazing. Now, their procedure is a little bit different. He showed me this a minute ago, but Jonathan, would you mind going on showing what happens around the exterior and the interior of a house? So I just got a report back from Jonathan, guys, that had the foundation checked, and he goes in there with a device and he measures it. Okay, most of them are yellow, and it's just basically a gigantic electric level is what it is. And he goes and puts it in all these places around the house, and he comes up with his little report to show where the differences are. And then he does his science or math or whatever it is, and says, okay, I need to lift this side, this side, this side, this side to make it work. So what he's showing us now, Jonathan, I'll let you talk a little bit about this. This is different and more of a newer technology than what I've seen, honestly, when it comes to fixing the exterior of the house. So yeah, share with us a little bit about what's going on right here. Why do you have a shovel?
Yeah, okay, so this shovel here, when we started this lift, this piece of tape was right here at the top of this shovel. So this was not the lowest portion of the home, but as you can see, this is how much we lifted this side of the home. And you can see where the foundation is lifted up from where we lifted it. So I'll just go over briefly our process. It's going to get a little loud because I'm right next to a generator. But we have a bracket that is installed up underneath the foundation grade beam. And then these ladders are connected to the bracket on each side, and they come up and we put a steel plate in. And so what happens is as we pump down on this bottle jack and it drives the jack and the steel plate upward, it is in turn pulling our bracket up and the foundation with it. So we do this in cadence and in sections. So we'll have 5, 6, 7 jacks being lifted at the same time. So the foundation is lifting upward. Let me see. Here's a better picture of the bracket itself under the foundation. So as you can see, do you see that bracket arm sticking out?
Right. Yep.
Right there. So that is up underneath the foundation grade beam supporting it. Now this is an example of a pier that we've welded and locked into place. And so what the next step is we'll cut the excess pipe off, backfill the dirt, and then we're finished with that portion. As you can see here.
Fire.
Yeah. So
basically, depending on how bad the foundation has shifted, you're going to go around and dig some holes around the outside and literally jack it up. Now, I know talking with these guys, they use steel pillars, right? We're going in there with steel and pushing that steel down. Earlier, y'all were saying anywhere from 4 to 40 feet, that kind of depending on the house. And mainly its location. So now, I don't know if Jonathan can still hear me, but now, guys,
I'll answer that
okay.
for you. Yeah, so Colin, what you didn't see there is the final process is lifting the house, right? The first is driving our steel pier down to bedrock. So that process engages a hydraulic press, which uses the weight of the house to counter push that pier pipe down to bedrock, structural steel pipe. And it's a 1/4 inch thick structural steel, which is rated at about 55,000 PSI. So the compressive strength of concrete is less than 10,000 for sure. It's usually between 4,000 or 5,000. Some companies say it's rated at 9,000, but our structural steel is rated anywhere from 30 to 60,000 pounds per square inch. So we can drive that. And once we hit load bearing strata or bedrock, then we know that we've hit that bottom. And so then we can switch out to the jack process to lift. But that driving process is done in 4-foot pipe sections that we couple together with a structural steel coupler that lies on the inside of that pier pipe. So it's a hollow pier pipe that automatically fills itself with the soil material as it's being pushed down. And once we hit bedrock, then we know that we're on solid ground. And that's when we can start the lift process with
and that's why we can do lifetime guarantees, right? It's like,
correct.
That's why when we are 40 feet down and we have hit the absolute bedrock of the earth, like it's probably not going to go anywhere short of a earthquake.
Right. And I think you mentioned a blended solution before. There are some companies that take that concrete cylinder and they bore out a hole that they run a steel cable through. That steel cable, kind of like a post-tension cable, creates that stretching, although I don't believe that they have the same compression on that cable that they would a post-tension for foundation, but those concrete cylinders that are coupled together with that steel cable is the purpose of that blended solution, to keep the concrete pilings from sliding off, because the volatile soil is still pushing them, because those concrete pilings are not grounded to bedrock, as Jonathan pointed out earlier in the talk.
So Jonathan, real quick, if you wouldn't mind going back inside, I kind of want everybody to see what happens on the inside of the house. So sometimes, like he was saying, if the house, if it's creating a bowl effect somewhere in the house, I can't remember the word you used. It sounded a lot smarter than bowl. Then we got to go do the deflection. Then we've got to go do this inside as well, right? And so we're doing the exact same process inside. And what I gotta be, I'm really not trying to kiss y'all's ass right now, but I'm really surprised because I have seen so many of these, like where there's a 5-foot, 10-foot hole in the middle of somebody's living room, and 17 guys in there with shovels going to town. So this is actually really impressive of how little damage y'all are doing to the inside of this.
Yes, yes. So as you can see here, we have an elevated wood floor that's sitting on 2x4s. But as you can see, our pier holes are extremely small. They're about 12 to 18 inches in diameter. And when we have the pier holes, like let's say when they're visible on the outside of the house, we square them off. So it's a nice, clean, square cut. I mean, our job sites are extremely clean. As you can see, we're inside the house here, and here's the dirt that came out of the ground for this pier site. And I mean, this is what our jobs look like. If we come inside of your client's home, I mean, it's going to be extremely clean. All dirt is going to be bagged. As you can see, we only had to damage one piece of tile here for this pier. And to go back to what you were saying is, yes, so in this corner here, we were down 5 inches. So, but as we walk 8 feet inward, if we don't have support on the interior and the interior is down, let's say 3 inches and the exterior is down 5 inches, then if we don't have this interior support, then we're going to have to limit the lift from the exterior so that we don't create that deflection I was talking about earlier where we jeopardize the slab there.
Right. Yeah. And so, I mean, it's really kind of a cool process. Now, I will say in my experience, foundation companies, I know this is pretty much the standard, but I do want to let everybody know, you're going to go in there and let's say we got to do the exterior of the house, guys, very little damage. It's going to be digging up. Yeah, you're going to have a little bit of mud on the side of the house, whatever it is. I'm actually really surprised with how little digging they've done on the exterior of the house. Once again, guys, I guess technology is just kind of caught up because there used to be like I said, a 5-7 foot diameter hole on the outside and people sitting in it. And we're, and so right here, I mean, it's very minimal here on the outside, same on the inside. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, most foundation companies, when we're done, we take all of our stuff out of there, we'll fill it back up with dirt where you can't really see it. On the inside, you fill it up, like you re-pour concrete in there, so you still have that concrete foundation, but y'all don't really do anything with the floors, right? You're going to allow that homeowner to repair the floor on their own. Is that correct?
That is correct. But we do partner with Kip. As you know, he's done a really great job partnering with other service professionals in the construction industry. So if there's something that we don't provide, we will connect you with somebody that will make the project turnkey for you.
There you go.
One of the things that two things. Number one, we chose the name Risen Foundation Solutions for a reason. Because if we limited ourselves to Risen Foundation Repair, then we wouldn't be giving the full understanding and our name wouldn't dictate our goal to help you get from where you're at to where you want to be. And our goal is to help you have the project closed, whether we're doing it or we can outsource or we can refer you to the right partner. We want to create happy people for life. That lifetime warranty should be a satisfied customer for life. And so that's why we do it. The other thing that you mentioned is, why are these pier holes so small in other companies and technology? That ladder system that we use takes the work that is usually done underneath the house and just brings it to the surface. And that's the difference. Most companies will dig out a big hole because they need to get under the house. Well, all we did is create a ladder system to bring that work up to the surface to minimize the collateral damage. So that's the difference and why it's possible.
So let's talk about the next thing. So we've got a client, we're walking through a house, we suspect that there's foundation damage. I'm going to tell you right now, ladies and gentlemen, your policy is you don't tell them that there's foundation. We suspect that there's foundation. If you decide they love the house, great. Put it under contract, get it an option. And during your inspection, a general inspector he'll say the same thing I'm telling you right now. There's suspected damage, right? He's going to make that comment. He's going to recommend that you go get one. Guys, what you're learning right now is exactly what a general inspector learns about foundation. I mean, they know more, but basically we're on the same page here. If you suspect it, go ahead and schedule with these guys, somebody, get them out there to go ahead and get a true measurement on that foundation. It is really, really important to find out what's going on because I've seen foundation repairs cost anywhere from $800 up to $18,000. You know what I mean? There is a very wide gap on what it takes. Most of them I feel like always kind of fall in that $10,000 range, right? Am I crazy on that one? I kind of feel like they all right around there, 8 to 12, just kind of depending on where the house is. I mean, that's kind of, so guys, if you're looking for a cost, again, the answer is anywhere from 800 to 8 million. I don't know. It depends on what you're doing, but most of them kind of fall around in that $10,000 range. Now, does your client have to fix that? Well, that's up to them, right? So you can either have the seller repair it, you can do it. Again, you got to talk to somebody. You got to talk to the experts, get them out there. But what you're looking for is what happens on that. But I want to talk more about the scary part of foundation repair. So I just got a quote from these guys, and I'm being honest with you. I thought a really cool thing that they include in their quote was something called a static test. So again, I think this speaks to what Kip was talking about when he comes to a full solution. So this is to me, this is the scary part of a foundation repair because there is a variable in here. So tell me why you do what is a static test? A, why do you do it? And then what happens afterwards?
You want to go, Kip, or me?
Sure. So a hydrostatic test, what it does is it tests the integrity of the plumbing. Are there any leaks? And a hydrostatic test, we go the plumber company that we align with several, they come out, and what they'll do is they'll go to the clean out and they'll actually blow up a bubble with a tube in it, which pressurizes the system to ensure that there's no leaks from the main line coming in and the drainage system going out. What they do is they fill up water as they cause a plug, they fill up water in that clean out. And if the clean out stays level for 20 minutes, there are no leaks detected and you pass. If that level starts to drop over 20 minutes, and depending on the speed, you have a leak. And at that point, a plumbing company can then turn it into a camera scope where they put a camera through the plumbing system and they will identify which location or locations you are experiencing a break in your plumbing system. So at that point, once that's identified, then we as a foundation repair company know that a pre-existing break is present in the plumbing. And usually the recommendation is from the plumber and from the foundation repair company is to go ahead and lift the home, because during the lift process, it's always possible that if you didn't have a break, that a break could occur during the lift process, especially when we're going up 6 inches, because what maybe took 20 years to fall could take 20 minutes to lift, right? If we're going up 1.5 inches or 2 inches, it usually just takes about an hour, 2 hours at the most, depending on the distance. Sometimes Jonathan lifts 9 inches and it takes a lot longer. But what you're doing is that 20-year span, you're correcting in just a matter of a short period of time in one day. So that's why it's always a risk to lift the foundation. So depending on how far we're going, that risk increases or decreases, but it's always possible. And that's based on the soil underneath the foundation, which we sometimes don't know until we get in there. But there's many risks that go into the lift of the foundation regarding.
Yeah. So I'm going to back up. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Jonathan.
Well, let me add one thing in there. So, and if you guys check out our Facebook page, Kip actually just did a great educational video with the plumbing company, Fifth Street Services, where they will actually walk you step by step what a hydrostatic test is. They show you how they do it. They talk a lot about it. It'd be a great video for your agents to check out and really learn something about that test so they can educate their clients out in the field.
So, yeah, and I will say this, guys, as a realtor, if I suspect a foundation problem, I'm also going to suspect that there's a break. So I'm going to back up just a little bit, guys. Whenever they pour a foundation, I'm sure everybody's seen a foundation at some point during a build. There's all these PVC pipes that are sticking out. That is all the plumbing, and 99% of it is the drainage. So when you flush the toilet, it goes down through the foundation through a 2.5, 3 inch, 4 inch pipe, whatever it is, depending on the construction of the house. So there is a PVC pipe running through the concrete. So as that concrete bends, and to Kip's point, if it takes 20 years to bend, that's not, I mean, the PVC will kind of give with it. Now, when they lift it back up, you got to remember this is 20, 30, 40-year-old PVC. You know, sometimes it gets a little brittle, and when they move it, Jonathan pointed out earlier that they're trying to do this whole thing in sync. So they're not trying to lift one side because that is more than likely going to break one. We're trying to do the whole thing as slowly as we can to prevent those kind of breaks. And you want to make sure that people are doing it in sync. You want to find a good, reputable company, because a lot of times if you just call, my cousin does foundation stuff, he's probably one guy and he's underneath there doing them one at a time. And that's going to double, triple, quadruple your chances of a break happening versus having all of them move very, very, very slowly. So when that happens, guys, you can break a pipe inside of concrete. And that is the scary thing. It is not 100% preventable. I've never met a foundation company that goes, we guarantee we won't break a pipe. That they won't do it. Okay. So what they do beforehand is they'll do a hydrostatic test to see if there's any leaks. And then I know y'all will do another one at the end to see if you created any leaks. Now, this is the scary part, because Jonathan gave me a quote. It's $10,000 to get my foundation repaired. Well, he's going to go through there. That included the hydrostatic test, which I thought was cool. So they're going to do both sides, though. When he's done, he's going to come to me and say, Colin, you passed the hydrostatic test. I get the little letter from the plumber. We're good, right? I can sell this house now. If there is a leak, now you know about it, right? You can't sell that house without disclosing it. So now you have to either disclose it, or fix it. Now, in my experience, and I'm pretty sure y'all will echo the same thing, those repairs can be anything from a $50 repair to a $5,000 repair. It really depends where the break is, what kind of break it is, all of that good stuff. So the house that y'all guys are about to do for me, the kitchen area is the part that's going to be lifted. And the kitchen is right next to the street where most of the pipes run to the front of the street, because that's where the sewer line is, right? So it's all got to go out to the front of the house. So I do have a little bit of concern. And I asked him, I said, hey, what do you think my chances are? And you're like, I don't know, about 33%. You got about a 1 in 3 chance of breaking something. And that's fine. I just understand that going in. And you need to make sure you tell your clients, if you got to raise something 6 inches or 9 inches, the further you got to lift it, the more you're flirting with the devil here. Okay. You just flat out, there's nothing anybody can do about that. Also, just as a kind of a round number, if you break a pipe somewhere in the middle of the house, about $2,500, I'd say, per break is what I kind of see. More than that, tell me what y'all think. I mean, that's usually about what I see, because the plumber's got to go in there, jack up the foundation, do all that, fix the pipe, and go from there. But I mean, what do y'all see when it comes to plumbing breaks or anything else that we should be concerned about?
Yeah, so the main thing with the plumbing breaks is, where is the break? Because a lot of the time, the majority of the cost for the plumbing repair is going to be tunneling to get to that plumbing break. So if the break is close to an outside wall, you can expect a lower cost repair versus if it's a bathroom right in the middle of the house. And so it's important that even if you're not experiencing any foundation issues, that if you get a plumbing test and there is a break, it's very important to fix that immediately, because in this clay based soil that we have here in San Antonio, the biggest enemy of maintaining a proper foundation is the moisture content in the soil. So you want to make sure that the property has proper drainage, where you have gutters, all your downspouts are flowing water away from the foundation. If you're noticing any fluctuation in your water bill, you want to check the supply lines of your plumbing, have a plumbing company come out and do a plumbing test. If you're noticing anything like any strange smell, it's just really important to maintain proper moisture in and around the foundation. And that means eliminating excess moisture, and also in the summertime, supplementing and bringing in extra moisture with a soaker hose or a sprinkler system when we have that hot, dry summer month season.
Right. Yeah. So guys, that is the risk. I mean, foundation repairs, I know it sounds like $10,000 is expensive, but it's more expensive to bust every door frame and letting your house continue to slip and having additional plumbing problems is going to get way out of control really quick. Like he said, you're going to have to call a plumber. Foundation guys don't do this. Even they're calling plumbers to get the static test. That is the easiest way to determine if there's a leak, right? You fill the house up full of water, every bathtub, every sink, everything, and you block it off from going to the street. You know what I mean? So if it's not going in the sewer, where is it going? If it doesn't go anywhere, we're good. So that's basically it. But Jonathan, since you're on site right now, you just reminded me of one other thing that my clients ask me all the time. So just, I'm sure you'll echo this, but when they pour a foundation, right, it's kind of ugly on the outside. It doesn't have a real finished look because there's tension cables and all that kind of stuff. They're holding it up with wood boards. When they pull that down, it's not there. They'll put a skim coat on the outside of that just to kind of make it look a little bit prettier, to cover up where the tension cables are, all of that stuff. When you see cracks in that, or most importantly, those corner caps, do you have any corner caps out there that you can see that are visible above the ground line?
Let me see here.
Because I have so many people that see those corner caps pop or the skim scope crack, and they go, "Oh my God, this house has foundation issues." I said, "No, it doesn't. They didn't put a thick enough skim coat on there, and because it's a mass builder, and they're trying to hustle." I want to see if we can get an example of that.
You're absolutely right. So here's an example. This is cosmetic in nature. So what you're talking about when you see these cracks in the coating, it's not a structural thing. Now, it doesn't mean that foundation isn't having any issues, but cracks in the skim coat is not an indicator of a structural issue. And I did want to, let me see if I can find a wedge crack for you, which is what you're talking about on the corners.
Yeah, thank you.
1 second.
While he's looking for that, Colin, may I also add, if you've ever tried to repair like a sidewalk and try to patch a sidewalk or your driveway, notice how it flakes off. You get the same result with a skim coat in many cases because you're trying to adhere concrete to other concrete that's already cured. And it's sometimes is futile. So that's why that cosmetic solution isn't necessarily a foundation issue. It's just you're trying to do something against nature's natural way of
concrete doesn't stick to concrete very well, period.
On top of that, concrete was designed to crack. Some of the females out there, if they put a mud mask on their face, once it dries out, what happens? It starts cracking. So when it starts drying, you're extruding that moisture, and if it's already cured, you're going to get spider cracks. So just because you got those doesn't mean that it's a foundation.
Thank you so much for bringing that up, because I didn't think about that either, guys. I can't tell you, if you were selling new homes and you got a new build, and when people buy a new build house, man, for some reason they are construction experts all of a sudden, and they want to drive out there at that house every single step of the way, once a day, twice a day, on their way home from work, and they're going to go look and watch these guys do it every step of the way. It's fine. By all means, do it. Encourage them to do that. But make sure you're setting up the expectation, because he's right. I can't tell you, they pour the foundation, all the guys are out there, they got the big pumps and the cranes and all this stuff, and it's this big production, and then they leave for a few days to let the whole thing cure, right? It's got to dry. And as soon as it dries, you get those little spider cracks, and like, my foundation's already cracked. No, it's not. It's supposed to do that. So that is a very keen thing. It is going to crack. I don't care. I mean, I guess you could get a more pliable concrete that doesn't, but you're probably not going to want that as your foundation. So sorry, I look like Jonathan found what we're looking for here.
Yeah, so this is the beginnings of a wedge crack. So a lot of times what you'll see is, over time, the weight of the stone or the brick right on this corner edge will cause this facade to crack off, and even this piece could come off, and there would be a missing piece of concrete. We call that a wedge crack. It's not necessarily a sign of structural deficiency in the foundation. It's something that can be easily repaired. But don't let a wedge crack scare you into thinking that something's terribly wrong. It's usually a cosmetic issue that can be easily corrected. So just wanted to point that out there.
And I will say personally, I don't know if this is correct. Yeah, you'll see not only the skim coat come off, guys, but you'll also see part of the foundation break off, right? And it almost always is in that V shape. It's almost always looks like a Dorito chip, right? It comes right off of here. The only time, sorry about that. Everybody wants to talk to me. All right. The only thing that would scare me about that is if I could see the framing boards. If I could see a 2x4 or something like that, that means the crack's gone too far back in there, and it does need to be remedied. Which I've seen it 2 times. You know what I mean? Not a whole lot of times. But guys, lawnmower throwing a rock will break that skim coat. Like, I mean, it just happens. So don't fret too much about that. So before I let you guys go, because we're coming up on our hour, what else advice would you give to realtors or general homeowners that they need to know about foundations or just anything along those lines? Like what should scare them? What should make them feel good? What do we not cover that I haven't asked?
I'll just say something real quick and then let you take it from there, Kip. The two main things on my end would be make sure whatever company you are using, that they're pulling all the necessary permits, that they are working with a third-party licensed structural engineer that protects your clients, it protects you, and it protects the contractor. Foundation repair it's not a highly regulated industry, and that's why it's important to bring third-party engineers into the project scope. Like with Risen Foundation Solutions, for every project, we'll have a third-party licensed structural engineer on site for the lift that will provide a detailed inspection and completion report based on the work that was completed. Go ahead. No, you got it.
That's such a brilliant statement. I can't believe I didn't think of saying that earlier. Ladies and gentlemen, you've got to remember foundation. You say foundation repair to 99% of people and they freak out. It is a terrible, scary, oh my God, not the foundation. It's not scary. It can get a little pricey, but it's really not scary. Okay. However, in real estate, we play that cover your ass game all the time. Okay. That's why you're not allowed to say there's a foundation problem, because you're not an expert. We need to bring an expert in. Okay. That's why these guys, I guarantee you, are bringing in a structural engineer. So now we have a guy that's an engineer. We have this system put in place. We've done everything we possibly can. We pulled the city permit. The city knows we did it. The engineers know we did it, and he checked it. We did it. We're guaranteeing it after that, because if anything does go wrong on this, and guys, everything has a chance of failure, right? I mean, something can always happen. But at least now we know we took all the necessary steps. And so we're not getting into, if you recommend a company or you tell them, you don't need to get a permit for that, that's a dangerous game to play. Just personally as a rehabber, I've gotten busted not pulling permits before, and it sucks. Not only the penalties and all the BS you got to jump through after that, but also if somebody finds out that you did something and didn't have a permit pulled, now you're liable. So make sure that you do find somebody that does all of that stuff. That's a great point. Sorry, go ahead, Kip.
Sure. So one of the things that I wanted to mention is you talk about fear a lot. One of the things that we like to say is we lift the fear so you can raise the home, because it is such a fearful, term, foundation repair. And we are an education first company. We educate you to let you know what we see and what we believe and how we can fix it. Now, and correct me if I'm wrong, but when you get an opinion from a foundation repair company on what you believe the home is experiencing, a structural engineer is the one that can say this needs structural support and it has to go in the seller's disclosure. A foundation repair company can come in and give a recommendation, educate you on what's happening with the house, and that is a recommendation from a foundation repair company. So those two things are different. All right, those two things are very different. The last thing I wanted to say is don't let a home go to some other buyer because you believe you may have foundation issues. You can resolve the problem with us when we lift the fear and we correct the home's foundation, and you can have the home that you believe is right for you, and we can do it in 5 days or less in 99% of our jobs.
Yeah, great point. 5 days or less. I think Jonathan was telling me my foundation repair, what was it, John? 17? Piers, something like that?
Yes, and that'll take 2 days.
2 days, guys. 2 days, and he's not even 7 foot in the house. There's going to be a little bit of a dirt on the outside of the house, a little bit of mud, might drip the grass a little bit, but you know what? It's really not too big of a deal. Everybody's going to be just fine. It's not scary. It's just one of those things. The more you know about it, the less scared you get. And once again, if you suspect it, call in somebody, call these guys. I'll put all their contact information when I post this video. That way you can call them. They come out. Real quick, Jonathan, what do you charge to come out and check a foundation?
In most cases, it is it is free of charge. Now, however, if your agents need a really quick turnaround, we typically will charge $100. That would be like same day turnaround, or if
Drop
they
what
call
you're
us and
doing.
say, yeah, hey, our option period expires, tomorrow. However, we encourage, the agents to, try to get ahead of the 8 ball and try to get us out there earlier. And in that case, if you give us enough time, it's going to be free of charge.
Okay, real quick, I actually just thought of something. What would it cost roughly? I mean, I don't want to get y'all, pin you down on this, but let's say we're selling a house. The inspector comes in. The inspector said, like, we're the seller's agent, right? The inspector comes in and says, hey, there's something wrong with the foundation. You need to get it professionally checked. Okay. We call Jonathan to come out here. And of course, this is going to be like, well, that's just a foundation repair company. That's blah, 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 blah. He's your friend, or, this kind of stuff happens. What would it cost to have you come check the foundation and maybe get an engineer's letter saying it's within tolerance, or it's within whatever it might be? I mean, what would something like that cost, just to kind of dispel any rumors? And let me tell you why I asked that. I've done some rehabs on some really old houses where I have fixed the foundation. And let's say this house was built in 1920, and the foundation's been sitting like this for 65 years. The walls do that. So when you lift the house, the walls are still bent. You know what I mean? And it's just because they've been sitting like that for 65 years. So a lot of times people will walk in and notice that the wall looks a little bit off. And I'm like, no. Foundation is solid. And when I repair it, I've obviously got a engineer's report that I can provide and all that good stuff. But if it hasn't been repaired and it's still within tolerance, or some kind of false indicator, what does something like that cost to help the seller's agent?
Sure. Yeah. So if they call a licensed structural engineer and the engineer comes out and provides a full report, it's typically going to cost them around $600. I know the company that we work with and we feel is the most knowledgeable within the industry for foundation repair and inspections. They're going to charge about $600 to come out and get a full report on the foundation.
Yeah. So just an idea, guys. Like I said, this is all education. We're just trying to get it. I mean, you may or may not need it. Who knows? But if somebody really demands it, this is to warn your sellers, right? Hey, if we're going to get this, I noticed all this. He said it was good, but we're going to need to pay $600 just to get everybody off our rear end. And then the good news is, guys, once again, you've now passed that liability over to that engineer. So if the foundation is bad, hey, you said it was good. I didn't say it was good. So that's always kind of a good indicator, or a good way to kind of get the monkey off your back. That's the game here, guys. And sorry, I feel like I'm rambling, but Kip, anything you want realtors to know that you get really stupid questions about all the time that you really want to dispel the rumors before we go any further?
No, like I mentioned before, if you see it, say something to us. We'll gladly come out there and check it for you. And you're not entitled, you're not burdened, or you're not on the hook. You're not liable for anything when you get a foundation repair evaluation from us. All you get is expert advice for relatively next to nothing. And it only improves your knowledge in the area and provides confidence to your buyers that you have their best interest at heart, because we say that as well. Our best interest is your best interest. So that's what Jonathan and I say, and our team within Risen Foundation Solutions, because the best news we can give is you don't have a foundation issued today.
Yeah. And guys, it really is easy to call a foundation company. I'm just going to say that it is really easy. There's so many times where you'll see a faint little crack above a door line. And I've heard, if I catch a white line agent, I mean, you are gone in a heartbeat. They'll say something like, oh, just paint that. Nobody will notice. No. Now you're covering something up. And if something does happen with the foundation and a few years later and there's a lawsuit and they come back and they go, well, my realtor told me just to paint that crap. No, you got to be forthright. You got to be honest. It's not worth getting caught 2 or 3 years down the road. Right. So make sure you just call these guys. I use these guys. So it's like, but call somebody, and just make sure they're reputable. Make sure there's, they have access to engineers. They know what they're doing. You've kind of got a good understanding. I thought that we covered a lot of stuff in this one about foundations. So,
yeah, real quick, Colin, too. It's not just the legal liability down the road. Think you're 45 days into it and several buyers have come along and they've all said, hey, our inspector said there's foundation issues. Well, now you just lost 45 days in the selling process, because now you have to get a structural engineer to prove you don't have it. Or you got to get guys like us to come out and evaluate it, only to find out, oh, shoot, we're off 5.5 inches. My contractor said I was fine to just get the house repainted and refinished, and we're fine. So you can lose time and money that way as well, and credibility as well.
Yeah, I mean, guys, it really is just specialty. I mean, it is a specialty kind of thing. You know, yeah, a handyman can fix a lot of different things, can't do a foundation. It's just kind of one of those things, like it's over here. You don't want to hire a handyman to do your electrical work. You know, you want an electrician. You know, like, yeah, putting together bookshelves, you know, painting a room, stuff like that. Who cares? There's not really big, but this is, I mean, it is a big one. So make sure you do it properly, do it right. Call these guys, call somebody, you know, make sure it's done. But I know I love this. I love talking about this because it's fun watching this. And by the way, guys, I just want to let you know, I talked in my last video last week about this house that I'm doing, and the Jonathan, they're going out there, they're fixing the foundation for me. I think they're starting next week or something like that. It's going to take them 2 days to do this. I'm going to be flipping this house more than likely. I'm going to sell it. When I go to sell this house, ladies and gentlemen, I will have an engineer's report. I will have a lifetime transferable warranty. I will have all this stuff. So when I list it in the disclosures, I'm going to say yes, because there's a foundation partner, guys. If you remember, yes, there was foundation, was corrected by this company, engineer, all docs available and associated documents. And I put every single one of those up there. I don't try to hide it, because a lot of times it makes people feel better, knowing that it has been fixed, that it is guaranteed beyond that. Because, well, again, when are you going to have these foundation problems? If they know they've already got somebody's back on it, you know, like somebody else, if it does happen, I just got to make a phone call instead of having to figure it out myself. So kind of a cool little thing that I'm doing. At least just be honest with it, guys. Again, it's just not something you want to hide. And again, it's like Kip said, it just saves you time. You know what I mean? I don't want to hear it. It's already up there. So guys, thank you. Y'all are awesome. I appreciate the time. I can't wait to come out there and let, you know, I'm going to ask y'all if I can jack up the house and just say, you know, put this good Instagram picture, check me out, I'm lifting up the entire house.
Hey, and Colin, on Instagram, we are on every social platform, from LinkedIn to TikTok, from Snapchat to Facebook, Google, everywhere that you can think. Risen Foundations is usually how you can follow us, at Risen Foundations is usually our tag on all that. We'll send that content to you so you can send it out to all your agents. But we like to have fun in our company too. So we hope you like what we put out there from an educational perspective, from our website on risenfoundations.com, or on TikTok, and some of the fun videos that we have, you know, in cadence, jacking up a house in, you know, to the beat. So
you got the TikTok dances down now? Yeah, I got you. That's pretty cool. That's got to be fun. All right, gentlemen, I'll leave you to it. I got to run, go get to a meeting. Thank you again. And I guess I'll see at least one of y'all next week. And I'll talk to you then. All right, guys. Bye.
See ya.
Thanks, Colin.